Thank you, Barry, and we're excited to be here today. Just quick remark from Francois. I'm excited to hear that Canada's leading the way for programmatic digital out of home. How awesome is that? That's definitely a feather in our cap, and I think really talks a little bit about how we're building on the programmatic digital at home space. When we think of it, we obviously think of automation, data, and measurement. These are kind of the foundational things that have been helping grow adoption. And as we get excited to look forward to the programmatic 2.0 space, specifically for the out-of-home, it's things like dynamic creative. It's things like increasing measurement studies. And really kind of driving forward the innovation that we're really looking to do here. And it's actually a nice little segue into the panel that we have up here today. So for those who don't know me, my name's Scott Mitchell. I'm the Managing Director for Vistar Media Canada. We also have Daniel Mack, who is the Managing Director for Talon. Congratulations on your promotion.
Thanks, buddy. Thanks.
And we have Brittany Kahn, obviously the Group Strategy Director for Touche. For today, yep, thank you. For our discussion today, we're really focused on a particular campaign that we worked on, but the things that we're going to talk about are going to kind of touch on a lot of those things I just mentioned around what those core pillars are. And so instead of me talking up here for the next 13 minutes and 22 seconds, we're going to hear from the experts and the strategy focused people here. So first off, the campaign we worked on was for Canadian Tire. We're revving up results here. And we talked about the Spring Garage campaign. So what we're going to dive into, first of all, was maybe let's talk a little bit about some of the findings that we had from the campaign and what some of those success metrics were that we're looking to build in from a strategy perspective.
I can go first. So from a measurement perspective, obviously Canada's Garage is one of our most pivotal pieces of business for Canadian Tire. I mean, it's in the name itself, Canadian Tire. Tires being one of the most common servicing needs in the industry. So it is very important to us. So being able to understand how our investment is helping to meet our key goals such as awareness, consideration, and intent is very important to continue to convince clients that we know as media professionals that out-of-home, digital out-of-home specifically, has been very pivotal to our strategies, but being able to convince them and show them with this opportunity to see study that we hit key metrics such as 3%, I think, lift in awareness, which is obviously very hard to do for a national brand that people know of, but more so also 30% lift in consideration, 25% lift in intent. So really great metrics to see, but also I think for me the biggest benefit is being able to, our client is, one of, I feel, the leaders in the industry in the Canadian ecosystem. So they ask a lot of questions. They want to know what their investment is leading to. Does out-of-home work? We've had a lot of success and recognition when it comes to the work that we've done in out-of-home from an awards perspective, but they also want to see measurable results and insights that can help to further evolve our strategies. For example, one of the things that stood out for us when we were looking at it is that it resonated very well with females, but in our research, we saw that males are the ones that are often the ones that are deciding where to take the vehicles. Like, I don't deal with that. I'm like to my husband, please deal with the car. But the industry, the world is changing, and women are very independent and capable of doing those things themselves. So we've kind of been, Canadian Tire is very committed to women, and we have our commitments now to speaking to women specifically, but it hasn't been a demo that we've been thinking of for the auto industry. So now, as we head into 2024, it will definitely be a core demographic that we're thinking of, and also we see that when we are in the market with digital out-of-home, not just for Garage, for Triangle, for many campaigns, we do see a spike in sales. So how do we maintain an always-on presence, for example, for less seasonal campaigns, because obviously Garage is very seasonal, to continue to see those lifts in sales.
Dan?
mean, how do you add to that? That was amazing. Yeah, you know what, Scott? I think for us, what I really appreciate about the start of the campaign and the life of the campaign and the results is that we have a really good case study for out of home is not just awareness. I think kind of out in the greater market, it's just this awareness medium, but we talk about the one-to-many, but then we talk about layering in audiences. We talk about using a measurement with proper methodology and actually pushing a consumer down the marketing funnel. We talk about intent to purchase. I mean, what retailer wouldn't want that, right? So I think from a strategic standpoint, having a really good brief from the client, speaking the language that is clear to us on what they need to achieve, and then having access to the tools to do that, and then bringing them those really positive results, we have a fantastic roadmap for growth and evolution through digital out-of-home and programmatic out-of-home.
Great points, and I think something to lead into that is quantifiable results always are favorable, and clients love hearing that. How do you take those to the next step now? Like, what is the next discussion that's going to happen to continue? I mean, Brittany, you talked about an always-on strategy. We talked about trying to innovate more and bring further investment into out-of-home, but how do we now use these quantifiable results?
Well, I think that I talked about the fact that like we're now looking at female audiences from a different lens, the always-on approach for some of our non-seasonal campaigns that we have, such as like our Triangle Select that we just launched. How do we use out-of-home to continue to make sure that Canadians are signing up for that program? Also understanding what resonated with them, how we stack up against our competitors. There's lots of different insights that we're definitely taking into consideration as we head into 2024.
Yeah, and I think just from a planning perspective, it's like we have this amazing flexibility with programmatic, and maybe we need to think about out-of-home plans or campaigns not being just linear, right? We can now build multifaceted plans with different audiences, different methodology, different media types, different locations, all of that stuff. So as we evolve and we have access to these results, we can build on them. And I wasn't going to say it before, but like maybe you could shoot us some first-party data and we can do something with that.
They're very secretive with
that. They all are, but I mean, imagine having access to that to layer on top of all the other wonderful things that we're doing. Who knows what the results could be? So we need to build that trust with results like this, and then make a case for that evolution.
Yeah, and I think that speaks to opening up like the investment into out-of-home from Canadian Tire, and obviously, comes when it's looking at different marketing initiatives. Brittany, you touched on like, hey, here's some quantifiable results. Here's an iterative process that we can start to build into what that looks like. Dan, you just mentioned first-party data, which is obviously very interesting, and that kind of obviously ties into helping drive more of that lower funnel engagement. If we think of something like we think of the marketing funnel, we have awareness at the top and then all the way down to say like purchase or DR, right? How do we try and translate some the other way? So what if we're looking at more DR directive initiatives that Canadian Tire may have? How do we get them to understand how awareness plays into that? Obviously, out-of-home fits across the entire board, but primarily that's kind of maybe one of the first mainstays that people think of there.
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. I think everyone kind of needs to understand that the campaigns can't be everything at once, and we need to have those building blocks. And that's why I say it starts with a great brief, or it starts with a great direction from the client, and really understanding what it is that they want to accomplish, but then understanding that there needs to be a roadmap, and you're going to build and build and build. And so with this campaign, again, Brittany mentioned it, Canadian Tire had something like 90% awareness in the market. I'm shocked it's not 99. We built a little bit on that, but then we get to intent to purchase and consideration. So let's take it a step further with Garage, and then let's take the learnings from that whole process that might have taken a year or two, which is okay, and where can we apply that to those other DR initiatives that you're talking about?
Brittany?
Yeah, I think that it's interesting. This opportunity to see study definitely helped us to understand how digital out-of-home can be helpful to our strategies moving into the following year. Obviously, it's been very important to us because of things like we always think about how digital out-of-home is helpful from a flexibility perspective, targeting, being able to target people day of week, time of day, contextuality, because of the fact that obviously if we're focusing on auto, we don't, not that we don't care, but we're more interested in places near major roadways versus transit areas because we want to reach drivers. However, there's more to it than that, right? Like, it's not just an awareness play, as Daniel mentioned. It's now evolved to be something that we can use throughout the full funnel, and I think that having these results can help to convince clients of that, because it is a misconception that it is just an awareness play.
Absolutely, and I think a great point there, as we're all big out-of-home fans here, but marketers have lots of different other things that they work on. Out-of-home is a part of that, but having these results and showing that these things work are quite important to obviously helping continue to grow investment into out-of-home. As we kind of wrap this up, we got a couple of minutes left. What is one piece of advice that you would give to, there's probably lots of other agency folks in the crowd here today, and maybe everyone else who's kind of here as well is just curious, but what's one thing you would probably want to impart onto them as they start to think of maybe including out-of-home into their existing plans, what they can think to maybe build on for it or maybe kind of improve on, but what would you like to leave with everybody?
I think that for me, as I've progressed in my role on the Canadian Tire account, like when I came on, we were using digital out-of-home, but we weren't using it to the extent that I feel we are now, and it's often something that I feel is a mistake, because we always think about, we get a brief from our client and we start thinking about, okay, TV, OLV, you know, those big video approaches, and of course you've got your social and your search, you know, your typical mandatories that you think of, but oftentimes out of home is kind of the last thing that you think of and the last piece of investment that you park on your plan. So I think that looking at it once you receive the brief from a full ecosystem, including out of home, and understanding how your online investments can translate into offline environments, and they can play hand in hand with each other and play off of each other to make your campaign bigger and more successful is very, very important. So start thinking of it from the get-go. I also think if you continue to understand who your audience is, where they are, how they like to receive information, where they're spending their time, obviously those are the areas that you can prioritize from a digital out-of-home perspective, and leverage these types of studies to be able to further evolve your approach as you move from campaign to campaign. I think I'd also be remiss to not mention that we're very lucky at Canadian Tire that we have such great clients who provide us with great briefs, who are approachable to ask questions and push, and they're very, they're not afraid to take risks. Sometimes you have to take risks, right? And then, of course, working with our creative partners to help facilitate, and then partners like Talent as well to help us along the way is very, very crucial to the overall success of the campaign.
Collaboration is huge. Dan, do you want to?
Stop upstaging me. Wow, that was awesome. No, really good. I think it's wow, that's tough to add on to, but I'll
ask you
echo it a
another
little
question.
bit. What's that?
Should I ask you another question?
No, it's okay. I think I'm going to sound a little bit whiny here, but I think I'm going to go back to that brief, and I'm going to say, really think about what it is you want to accomplish. Talk to your clients, get a really good understanding of what it is you want to do. Not to point fingers at anyone, but from time to time we get briefs that talk about awareness and impact at the same time, and it's a $25,000 campaign that goes across the nation. So I think that's
You're not talking about us, right?
Never. Did you hear her answers? There's no way she'd say something so dumb.
Guys, hear that? $1 million RFPs only.
Yeah,
from now
only.
on.
No, so I think I guess it's my roundabout way of saying educate yourself, but we're there to educate. We are facilitators, not gatekeepers. So if you have new people on your team or you haven't had a chance to get a really good understanding of out of home, reach out to Talon, reach out to us. We're, like I said, we're facilitators, we're champions of out of home. So we want to teach you, educate you, so that we can get better information and give you better campaigns and give your client better results. And then we build and we build and we build, and we talk about that growth of investment in Canada, and we talk about keep kicking ass and being the best in the world.
Absolutely, and I think that that is a great point. We'd love to jump into that after, further talk about that collaboration as well as the partnerships that everyone brings on stage to one another. But I believe that we're out of time. So, are we doing questions or?
For this one, but let's give these guys a great hand.
Thank you
Thanks,
very
everyone.
much.
Thank
Thank you.
you.